To Newcastle Borough Council's Cabinet meeting today. Welcome to members that join me in the room and also officers of the council that join me in the room. If you're watching this on YouTube, welcome. If you'd like to see the agenda, there's a link below the video for you to have a look at the agenda. I have a portfolio holder for environment and recycling, Trevor Johnson, here today. Welcome to members that join me in the room, also officers of the council that join. There we go. Listen to myself on replay. And we got Jill Heatham, who's portfolio holder for community safety and wellbeing. We've also got Councillor Andy Fear, who's portfolio holder for strategic planning. And sitting next to me is Deputy Leader Councillor Stephen Sweeney, who's Deputy Leader and Finance and Town Centres portfolio holder. I'm Leader of the Council, Simon Tagg. We have an apology today from Councillor Jill Waring, which we will note, but everybody else is present. Item 2 is declarations of interest. Do we have any for any items on the agenda? Looking at Cabinet members, not seeing any. Item 3 is minutes of the previous meeting from the 7th of February. Can we agree those as a correct record? Great. Everybody nodding, thank you. First item of business today is the Walleys Quarry update, an update which we have to every single meeting as we have now for getting on for 18 months or longer. Just for members' awareness, there is a couple of documents on the table relating to the KPIs from Walleys Quarry, the operator, which Martin will outline in a bit, and they'll be published online after this meeting. But this is the first report we've had since the standstill period has come to an end on the abatement notice issue, which we have launched as a council now. And Martin's going to update us on that as well. But over to Martin now, will give us the general update in the usual order. Over to you, Martin.
Okay, thanks, Leader. Yeah, so it's as you say, it's the standard report format that you're all familiar with. I'll go through first of all the complaint and the hydrogen sulfide figures, and then come back to the implications of the standstill period ending. So if you can go first of all to page 3, paragraph 3 of the report, which picks up on the complaint data for February, and you'll see there that numbers in February are down on January. And in the last 2 weeks, we're pleasingly in single figures. February was always going to be an interesting month to look at because, of course, it was 2 years ago in February that we had somewhere in the region of 3,000 complaints. So the fact that we're down to something probably less than 50 there is, in fact, I think it's exactly 50 there, or 49, is testament to the improvement that there's been in the situation. You'll see that the complaints coming into the Environment Agency over February again very much mirror the position for Newcastle. The Environment Agency for some time now have tended to get a higher number of complaints than us, but they do follow very much the same trend. Over the page, you'll see the information that's coming out of the 4 monitoring stations, and you will see, February's figures really, apart from a couple of fairly minor exceedances, one at Gallingale and one at Silverdale Road and one at Fire Station, in fact, one at each of the sites at some point, but very, very marginal increases. That's probably one of the longest periods of stability that we've had in terms of hydrogen sulfide exceedances. If you look at sort of January and February combined, there a lot of zeros. The monitoring station at the fire station has pretty much stopped finding much in the way of exceedances. You'll see there it hasn't picked up anything since November. Now, the graph on 4.3 just reiterates again the fact that the complaints and the hydrogen sulfide levels that are coming off those sites very much do mirror one another. So when we've got high levels of odor exceedances being measured at one of the 4 monitoring stations, we will see the complaints increase. So again, you'll see towards the end of February, those figures are coming down. In terms of some of the other key information that we look at in terms of the site, 2 other key stats are the extraction rate. So that's the amount of gas that's being taken off the site and destroyed through the gas utilization plant, and also the concentration of hydrogen sulfide that is being measured at the gas utilization plant. So in terms of the extraction rate, that sits steady around about 3,000 meter cube per hour. It's been steady at that for some time now. Moves around a little bit. You wouldn't expect it to be exactly 3,000 constantly, but really has been now quite steady for quite some time. Likewise, the hydrogen sulfide level at the GUP, that is sitting fairly steady around 1,600 parts per million. This in the past has been up over 6,000. So it's really quite a significant reduction. And these are levels that the Environment Agency are content reflect are sort of within the parameters of what they would expect to be coming off a site like this. So again, with the complaints, with the monitoring stations, and with this information, we're starting to see a picture that's very much a steady state. In terms of, I'm going to sort of bounce about a little bit on this today, if I may. The paper that's on your table is the performance indicator report from Walleys itself, and it's one of the documents that we discuss with Walleys when we have our monthly meeting with them. And again, in terms of the odours, etc., you will see that what we now have in this report, as well as external odour tours, etc., that are conducted by ourselves, which gets reported here. Walleys are also now indicating that over that month, they did over 50 tours themselves, where they went out and about to see if they could see if you could see the odour, smell the odour. Again, the information that we're getting from Walleys again is just indicating a fairly steady state. And in terms of the information coming back, KPI 13 to 15 is the information coming out from the visits by the Environment Agency as the primary regulator, again showing a fairly steady state at the site. So we're in terms of the complaint levels, while they haven't completely gone away, they are substantially down on where they have been in the past. Now, as you pointed out at the outset, we have now, at the beginning of this month, we passed the 5-month standstill period for the abatement notice. Just to recap, when the abatement notice was put in place, we allowed a period of 5 months for Walleys to do whatever works were required to comply with the abatement notice. That was then frozen while we went through the challenge period. And then once we got the abatement notice put in place in October last year, the clock starts again, and we've got the 5 months that ran out on midnight on the 5th of March. So that now puts us in a position where the council has got the powers, if it's necessary, in order to take action to enforce the abatement notice. And we would do that by following the process that's set out in our enforcement policy. So that policy supports us in determining whether or not there is a nuisance, whether or not that nuisance requires action other than addressing it either formally or informally with the site, and allows an escalation process right up to the point of prosecution. And of course, again, because this is a site that is principally regulated by the Environment Agency, if we were going to do that, we would need to get permission from the Secretary of State. So the central process that we would follow in this would need to be satisfied of there being a statutory nuisance that wasn't being controlled, and that the site wasn't using best practical means. And if you remember from, I guess, a couple of years ago when we were doing the detailed work on this, a statutory nuisance we judge by a process called FIDOL, which looks at the frequency, the intensity, the duration, the offensiveness, and the location of odours. And it's a mix of those 5 characteristics that allows us to reach a decision. So now that we've been through the 5-month period, we have gone back to our odor experts, Ricardo, who we used extensively over the last couple of years, and we've asked them to review all of the data that's been available to us over that 5 months, so November through to January, and reflect back to us their assessment. So they're going to look at not just the complaints and the hydrogen sulfide from the monitoring stations, but also surface emission reports. They'll look at the effects of meteorological factors on complaints, air quality monitoring data, the compliance reports that the EA issue, sniff tests and observations by our own staff, and the sniff tests and observations by the Environment Agency. So they'll bring that information together and reflect back to us, if you like, a composite state of play for the site. And what we intend to do is bring that report, once it's complete, through to council in the first week of April. So really only a couple of weeks away from now, we'll have that paper ready. But as I say, overall, I think what we see here is a dramatically improved picture from 2 years ago, and a pretty steady state with a period of time with no major exceedances.
Thank you, Martin, and yet again a report that is comprehensive and details the key things that people want to know about this site, and the improvements that we've seen are there obviously, but we also keep our eye on the situation as we go forward. And I'd like to thank officers of the council from yourself down through the environmental health team for continuing to monitor this, which is still a key issue which this council is looking to resolve on behalf of our residents. I'm going to open it up now to cabinet comments. Steve.
Yeah, thank you, Martin. I'd pass my thanks on to all your officer team as well for this. But I also add, though, that I think it's something we need to keep on going, because although the battle's being won, it's still there. And I actually smelled this last week in Clayton for 2 days. I've not smelled anything in Clayton for probably a year. So it's still there. It's a lot better than it was. But I think it's something we still need to continue to monitor, as we are doing. Thank you for everything you're doing, Martin.
Andy.
Thanks very much. I'd just like to re-echo what you, Simon, and Steve have just said. So thanks very much to our officers. I think this is a comprehensive and very, very clear report. You know, in particular, I think the graph at 4.3 gives us some key information, and in a very, very easily read way. This is a good news story. I mean, we're in a lot better position than we were. I would re-echo what Steve said. I go home via the Orme Road, and you do still get smells on the Orme Road, and that's not good enough at the end of the day. We want to nail this absolutely to the ground, but we are, the nails are going into the woodwork, aren't they? So I mean, this is a good thing in that respect. And also, I think, what we've just had explained to us about what we can now do after the 5 months is also there. Hopefully we will never need to do that, but it's good to know that that's out there. So broadly speaking, although like Steve, obviously we've got to keep our eye on the ball, I think this is most certainly moving in the right direction.
Any other comments from cabinet members? No, I think just to sum up then, we knew this was going to be a lengthy process. It is a lengthy process, but there are some improvements that we've seen, but there's still room for more improvement, and the operator will still continue to hold the operator to task for that. And I think through this period now, which we're now entering with the as Martin has pointed out, we'll remain vigilant and ensure that we're monitoring the situation, not only through the number of complaints that come in, but also through that monitoring equipment around the site. And of course, if we need to go forward with the prosecution, we'll need the Secretary of State to approve that. And I think at the right time, full council will make a decision on funding that as is right. Just 3 points from me just to finish off with is the extra data which we've got today, and this report will be available on the council's website with the dedicated web page about Walleys Quarry, which has the latest information for residents. Martin pointed out a report will go to the April full council for all councillors to debate with the latest situation. And obviously now we're in the next stage following the standstill period coming to an end. And there is a meeting of the Walleys Quarry Liaison Forum which is a community forum which involves local councillors, members of the community, and also key agencies, will take place on Thursday. That will be available to watch online later when it is published by the company for transparency. So recommendation before us that we note the comments of the report, and we've debated, asked questions, and all agreed? Okay, thank you. Move then to item number 5, which is the Housing Assessment Policy 2023, and Jill is going to introduce this.
Okay, the Housing Assistance Policy 2023. The Housing Assistance Policy aims to support borough residents with an offer of financial assistance to improve and adapt homes. It's also known as a Disabled Facility Grant, a DFG, to address problems of homes that are not suitable for their needs. The most recent figures show that while average life expectancy in the borough is 79 years for men and 83 for women, on average, they start experiencing poor health earlier in life. As people start to experience poorer health and reduced mobility in later years, it's vital that we do all we can as communities to keep residents happy, healthy and active. The kind of things that DFGs can help with are to widen doors and install ramps or grab rails, improve access to rooms and facilities with a stair lift or a level access shower, and various other things. As stated in the report, the administration of DFGs will be changing on the 1st of April from being a commissioned service to an in-house service. The council has a statutory duty to provide DFGs. The delivery of DFG grants is established around the proposed policy, which can ensure that we meet our duties and use available funding more flexibly. I ask that Cabinet approves the proposed housing assistance policy as stated in the recommendations, so that as a borough council, we're able to help our residents to carry on living in their own homes and remain independent for as long as possible.
Thank you, Jill. Fully back this. I think it's a really important role the council plays in ensuring that these adaptations are in the houses of those people that need them most, whether that's the mandatory disability grants, whether that's the discretionary grants, whether that's top-up assistance or the relocation grant, or any of the other grants that we could administer in this area. I think it's really important by bringing it back in-house. Hopefully we can do more and do them better as well for our residents that are in most need. Any other comments from any of the Cabinet members? Got the recommendations before us as printed. All agreed? Thank you. Next item 6, is the Energy Bill Support Scheme, Alternative Funding for Council Tax Support 2023. And Stephen's going to introduce this one. Stephen.
Just read a little bit out, please. I get a bit tongue-tied with the wording. The government is making provision for further support to householders in relation to the current cost of living crisis. The latest support is in the form of Energy Bill Support Scheme Alternative Funding, an Alternative Fuel Payment Alternative Fund, and Council Tax Support Scheme for £25 for eligible households. Now, the Council Tax Support Scheme, which is for people who are on local council tax support, that's already gone. £25 that's going credited by us off their account. The other two are two new things. Now, they're not in addition to what people are getting. It basically, I think when the scheme was set up, there were certain sort of people who fell through the cracks, and this is picking those people up. Now, we've had the money off the government and we distribute it, but we don't process the things they apply to the government. It's all on our website. It's all on there. Have a look for it. But it's not in addition to something you've already had. It's in case you never had it. So we'll have a look on the website. You apply to the government. The government then send us through people who pass the criteria. And I know you're going to ask me, so I'll tell you what it is now. We've received 85 grant applications from the EBSS scheme from government today, 81 which have been successfully validated and processed for payment. So it's up and running now. But it's on the website. It's the government who are doing it, not us. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Stephen. I think it's one of those things where we are the local sort of conduit for it here, aren't we? That make sure this works when the government makes its policies, and obviously helping people with particularly with cost of living issues and the energy prices. It's local councillors, particularly district councils, that deliver those, and we've got a very good successful rate of doing that through COVID and since then. And with also the grant that went in with the council tax last March was £150, if I remember, that went to every resident, and there's also supplementaries for that for people that were eligible. And I think this is another case of us doing it quickly, as you say, Stephen. We've got it on the website ready to go, and it's something which those people that are able to claim this should do, and I think it will help them in what's still a difficult time with energy bills very high. Any comments further to that? We've got the recommendations before. This is acceptance. of the and for the distribution. Also, Steve working with officers to ensure that the grants mechanism as prescribed by the government helps and supports those households in the borough impacted by the cost of living crisis. All agreed? Thank you. Next one is item 7, another one on the same vein as the last report, future delivery of debt and benefit advice services. And Jill's going to introduce this one. Jill.
Future delivery of the debt and benefit advice services. The council and other local public sector organisations have funded the debt and welfare advice for residents within the borough for a number of years, and the current contract expires at the end of this month. The current service excuse me, the current service emphasises early intervention to stop problems escalating and offers support ranging from self-help online to phone conversations and face-to-face meetings at locations in Newcastle and Kidsgrove. This isn't a service that the council is obliged to provide, but given the circumstances that many people face in the current economic climate and the upcoming transition of people's benefits to universal credit, there remains a clear demand for plain, simple, practical help for those struggling to make ends meet one way or the other. The proposal is to procure a renewed financial and wellbeing advice service for a further 3 years. I ask that Cabinet approves that proposal as stated in the recommendations, so that as a council we're able to continue to provide financial advice to our most vulnerable residents.
Thank you, Jill. Support this. I think, as you pointed out, the universal credit change and also the cost of living means that this advice service is even more important during this period. And we've seen, as we took I think it was a question that was raised at full council about the impact of cost of living, and we the information we're getting back is from advice services that there has been an increase, people in Newcastle seeking advice, particularly over the cost of living and the rising energy bills. So with this, we can go out to pre-procure the service, and also there's a delegation there to be in consultation with yourself, Jill, to award the contract arising from the procurement. All agreed? Great, thank you. Next item is item number 8, which is the procurement of fleet sustainable environment directorship, and Trevor's going to introduce this one. Trevor.
Thank you, Chair. Right, it is to approve the scheduled replacement of vehicles within the street scene and recycling and waste service, namely street sweeping and refuse collection vehicles. Changes to the street sweeping fleet configuration, as outlined in this report, will enable the council to better achieve its environmental quality standards in terms of tackling road litter and detritus, and to ensure there is sufficient vehicle resource to tackle leaf fall. By increasing the large sweeper fleet, a number of efficiencies and service enhancements will be achieved in comparison to the current use of compact sweepers, namely an increased speed in sweeping suburban estates, increased area of coverage due to the operational hours, increased sweeping frequencies during January to September, further enhancing street cleanliness, and increased leaf fall clearance from October to December, again enhancing street cleanliness and reducing flood risks. Large sweepers have increased suction in comparison with the compact sweepers, providing improved quality of debris removal and therefore reducing repeat sweeping of local issues.
Thank you, Trevor. I think this is more than welcome, really. I think we have an issue. I think a lot of councils across the country experiencing an increase in litter particularly. So I think by going out to procure for these fleets, we've actually brought this forward, haven't we, Trevor? So we can enable, we have those better vehicles with a larger capacity, so we can our staff can stay out there on the streets collecting the litter. I think also just on the other side, it's not all about just collecting the litter, it's also trying to prevent the litter being dropped, and we're actually doing to tie in with Keep Britain Tidy, a springtime litter picks across the borough, and we're badging them this year with our 850 celebrations as well. So hopefully people and residents can get involved. There's a lot of people already that go out and litter pick their local green spaces, and we need more of that, really. And also we need some of the people that do drop the litter to think twice and put it in the bin or take it home with them. But inevitably litter is dropped, and it does congregate on our roadsides and on our grass verges. And through this procurement of these replacement vehicles, we were in the best position to honour what is our main pledges to the in the election last year, and also is in our council plan, plan, and also is this cabinet's goal is to create cleaner streets and also roll out that neighbourhood approach to street cleaning, which has been successful in the town centre. We want to see that now grow out into the urban areas. So really pleased with this, and let's get on with this and get these vehicles in place so we can provide an even better service than we do at the moment. Steve?
I agree entirely with you, especially the point you make about this. It doesn't just happen. It comes because people drop it on the floor, and then you pay your council tax so somebody else can pick it up. Perhaps if they never dropped on the floor in the first place, it would be an improvement. But point well made. Thank you.
Any other comments before we move to the recommendations? No? Okay, so as we've seen there, approve the schedule for replacement, and also we do the appropriate procurement framework, and then in delegation with yourself, Trevor, that the officers award the contract for the completion of the procurement, and let's get them vehicles out there and doing the job for the residents of our borough to keep our borough tidy in our 850th year. All agreed? Excellent. Item 9 is unrecoverable items 22-23. This is the public report. There is a confidential item which contains more details, but Stephen will introduce the public report now. Stephen.
Thank you, Leader. This is the report that none of us like. There's two real figures on this. Bad debt provision is 51,812. Going off on one of them now, the bad debt provision is 36,000. So the balance can be met from budgeted contributions to provisions. That is for the that's the debtors one. The other one is non-domestic rates. Now, although this is a much bigger figure, it must be pointed that 40% of this is the councils. The rest is the county council, the police, the fire. Nobody else loses that. And that's so our share of it comes to 72,000 out of an actual figure of 180,000, which, although it's a lot of money, as it obviously is, it's a lot of money less than it was last year. And we come to convention, the confidential part, I'll point that out. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm looking at this, Steve. I think that's one of the lowest amounts which we've had since I can remember ever being on cabinet in my 2 spells. So I think that is interesting in itself. But I think it's we have to make the point that we do everything we can to get this money in, and inevitably there's always some as we will talk about more in the confidential item who were unable to get the money because the business doesn't exist or the person is no longer available to pay it. So I think, but as it is, I think this is a lower figure than we usually have, and it's never a good figure to have to put through cabinet. But as you say, it's something that all councils have to do, and it affects all the councils that take a part of the precept in the borough, doesn't it? But this council does all it can to get this money in that is due, and there's always some that we don't, and that's why we bring this report February every year. Recommendations is we note the contents of the report, and anything further to add from cabinet members? Not seeing any. Do we agree with the recommendations? Thank you. Item 10 is our finance and performance review report. We've got a new deck of indicators under the performance report, which I'll come on to in a minute. Well, the first part of it is the finance report, which Steve will introduce, and I believe you've got a bit more in there this time as well, Steve.
Yeah, we have a little bit more. The two normal parts we talk about is that the revenue budget at the end of the year will be balanced, and the capital budget will be balanced. That's what we always say. However, there is now, I'll find the right bit. On number 6.1, we talk about major projects funding. So we keep talking about money coming into the business and what we're doing with it. Well, this is telling you. So we've had 4.8 million for UK shared prosperity funding. We have 23.6 million via town deals fund for Newcastle. 12.5 million has been received to date, of which 500,000 has been spent. 16.9 million has been awarded for the town deals fund for Kidsgrove. 7.9 million has been received, of which 3.6 million has been spent. The council was awarded Future High Streets Fund funding in June 21 of 11 million. 7.9 million has been received to date, of which 5.1 million has been spent. And if you want to see what it's spent on, think of where the council offices were. And they're not there anymore, are they? It's that sort of thing. Think of the swimming pool in Kidsgrove. Contribution to that's gone in. So some of the money is being spent. This shows you how much money we've had in, what we've got sitting in our bank account, and how much money we've actually spent on these projects. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think it's really important we do put that information now we're entering delivery mode. We've got planned applications in for the Rycroft site and also for the York Place. We've seen other things happening around the town deal and also in Kidsgrove as well. So it's right that we know a lot of money coming in from all the government investment we've had that historically high government investment that we never had before. And this council will try and get every bang for every buck out of that and ensure that we deliver this regeneration. So it's important that we monitor that through your financial report. Thank you for that. Any questions on Steve's financial report? No. We'll move to the performance deck then. As I said, a new set of indicators which can be seen on the council's agenda site in glorious Technicolor. But the main headline is that 80% of our indicators are meeting their target. And this is a new set of indicators that have actually are stretching this council a bit more and every department within it to achieve even better for our residents as part of our new council plan. So overall, we're looking good, but looking at each of the separate priorities as we usually do. Starting with the one council delivering for local people. I'll bring in portfolio holders where appropriate. We've got a number there on Trevor's portfolio, which is showing up, I think, as green on the first page. Any comment on them, Trevor? Positive. You use your mic when you speak, Trevor. But he says it's positive, so that's good. Thank you for that. Second page, we have. Sorry.
Yeah. The second one down here is the time taking process housing benefit new claims change events that's under my name. This I think goes to show the one council approach, because we've taken a lot of resource out of these particular things, and yet we're still producing excellent figures, and this is an example of how good the one council approach is. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Moving to the second page of this of the one council portfolio, we do have a red there. One of the very few reds is on sickness absence, and that has been an issue we've had for a number of quarters now, and we are looking to improve that. There are actions in place which are detailed in the report there, and now you can see on the new the way we present this data, the historical data as well on previous quarters. But rest assured, our team is working on this to decrease the sickness absence. Other ones on those pages relating to HR, the staff turnover, and also the staff vacancies, which aren't showing up any indications that they need to be turning to red. On the next page, we have a series of indicators there. Anything to mention on the first one, Stephen, which is the accidents and reported?
No, really. The figures are so small that, if one accident 1 year, 2 in each, so it's no, I won't be.
Yes, thank you. Next couple of ones are customer services, which show all green there, and I think we've also we've been looking at the phone service to ensure that residents get to where they want to go when they phone up very quickly to get their service question resolved. So we've ensured that, which should begin to show some dividends in the future. Moving on to the next page of indicators for the one council, we've got a couple for Steve there, a couple for me. The number of digital interactions is showing up as an amber. But there's a control measure in place there to enable us to get to growth in that area. And then unique users of the website, our new website, which was launched many months ago now, is showing dividends there, green and a met target. Steve, any on your council tax and rates?
I'll reiterate what I've just said about we took a lot of resource out of this, and yet these still are the results we're getting. This is evidence of one council working properly. Both excellent results.
Excellent, thank you. Now we've got a few recycling ones there for you, Trevor, on the next page. Just
as you see, the target line on the last quarter, it's actually nudged above it, so we're very close. Target of 25 with 23.51. Yeah. So that's okay. It's positive. The next one is positive on food household collections from curbside. That's going very well. I think that's it.
Thank you, Trevor. I think 3 good indicators there that show that we know our recycling rates are going in the right direction, and we want to increase them even more. Next page is we've got on levels of street cleanliness showing up as a red, Trevor. I think we obviously ordered the new vehicles now. We're going out to procurement, and also we're switching the service over to the Bartek system, which is used for the recycling service, which shows that we can map the streets we need to and find out where the hotspots are and concentrate on those more, which I think is really key to have our cleaner streets pledge. And then we have a couple more there, 3 more in your area, Trevor, all showing green on detritus and graffiti and fly posting. So nothing really to comment on those. That brings us to our second portfolio, priority even, a successful and sustainable growing borough. And we've got first page there is the investment portfolio. Steve, coming up as green for you. Any comments?
No, not quite as target met. I'm very happy with it.
Okay, and then we have a percentage of complaints required for alleged breaches of planning shown in amber. Andy, comments?
It's a little bit disappointing. Obviously, I mean, enforcement's important for people in the borough. So as the stuff says on the side, this is a new measurement. Why not say measurement rather than metrics so people can understand it? So in that respect, I think we'll be looking at taking this forward. As we can see, it's all already under review, and I'll be talking to people about this. But I have every confidence that we can get this where it should be.
Okay, and the next page is all green in the planning area, which is really encouraging that we're keeping up the number of applications and the speed and the quality of the developments that our staff are putting through is showing dividends.
I think, yeah, the next page I think is a good news page, and again I'd like to thank our officers for producing these impressive targets. When asked to keep one's eye on the ball, as you can see on the left hand side, high is good, low is good, high is good, low is good. But nonetheless, if you pursue the visual roller coaster, I think you can see that all the thrills and spills are in the right place. So I think there's a good news story here.
Thank you, Andy. Moving to our next priority, which is healthy, active and safe communities. We've got a number of indicators on the first page in Jill's portfolio. Anything to mention there, Jill? Antisocial behaviour, ASB, cases closed, a number of referrals to the vulnerability unit.
I think in the main, it's all quite positive. I think due to the partnership working, that's going very well. Certainly working with the police and the complaints, they're being dealt with a lot more quickly. I think the only one that I can see that is negative is the antisocial behaviour, but there is an overall decline, which can only improve.
Over the next page, there's 3 indicators there which are in Jill Waring's portfolio, so I'll cover those. I think it's really pleasing to see, visitors to the museum, our excellent museum, increasing. Hopefully, in the 850 year, when we look back, we will see a large increase in users of the museum. But also, I think to note J2 membership growth. I think we're back now to where we were before COVID, which is really good. There are some serious issues in some leisure centres and sports centres across the country. Thankfully, for ours, we're beginning to we turn that corner, and we're now increasing our membership higher than what we had before COVID, and I think that covers those for Jill. We then got another page there of housing related indicators that come under yours, Jill.
I think it's a bit of a mixed blessing, really. I think the amount of people that are presenting is higher than the amount of housing. Having said that, we have had a drop in rough sleepers in terms of the work that's been done with the multi-agency hub. So that is a huge improvement. We have got positive trend with emergency homeless presentations. As I say, it's just the number of lets from registered providers that we're looking at working with going forward. But we do think that the trend means that the outturn will be greater than last. Altogether, I think the fact that we're working with a multi-function team is actually working quite well with this.
Okay, thank you. And then moving to the last priority area, which is town centres for all. Got 3 indicators here. First one is the car park usage. Steve, you've got a green there.
Yeah, coming on nicely. So yeah, that's coming on nicely. And no great problem with it. The second one is a footfall, again coming on nicely. The third, it's you, sorry.
Deal with your last one first, Stephen.
The last one is the markets, which is yellow, so it's slightly below where we want it to be. But I don't think there's anything to worry about at the moment, although it's worth watching out for. I might point out, of course, that our prize-winning market won another prize during the week, so it's now a double prize-winning market, which is worth stating, and I will state it as many times as I can because I think it's worth having a look at. Thank you.
Okay. And I think based around our events markets, which we've really pushed now, we're seeing the benefit of those. And as you say, another award for our historic market in our 850 year is really important. Just on the footfall one, there is a gap there on the Q4. And understand that the bid have sent through probably today our business improvement district with the latest figures. So I think if we could update to ensure they go in there for the scrutiny committee, at least when that agenda goes out for FAPS, because they'll be reviewing this as well. I think just lastly, in between each of these decks of indicators, there is also an update on the progress in some of the priorities and actions, which are really interesting to look at as well. And it shows that we're pushing ahead with regeneration in this town. We're trying to make our borough safer. We're also trying to make it cleaner and greener. And you can see the projects detailed throughout there, which portfolio holders are leading on, which will deliver those priorities we want over the course of our council plan. So looking at the recommendation on this section is that we look at the performance data and we challenge and look into it. We have done that. All agreed? Thank you. That brings us now to item 11, which is the forward plan, which we go through page by page. If I can just get to the right place in my agenda. Yeah, so page 2 of 6 is covering the March meeting, which we're in today. We brought all the items that we were promising to bring. And over on the next page, 3 of 6, we are on the March cabinet there, delivered. Over the page, we then go on to the April cabinet, where we've got some items related to town deal, to do with joint housing, and to do with our recycling project, and also about our security as an organisation. Then over the page, last bit of April there, a big cabinet meeting in April, a lot of business going on, and then we have the May cabinet there, and also which is the local plan consultation special cabinet. And then we have a June cabinet, which has got a number of items there, also looking at the Q4 of the performance. And also in June, we'll be looking at the contract for the multi-storey car park and also demolishing York Place contract award. And all the way through that period, we're also having a Walleys Quarry update at each cabinet. So all agree the forward plan? Thank you. Looking at item 12, I do have one urgent item to bring, which is that this will be the last meeting of our cabinet meeting of our director who's leaving us, Dave Adams, who's has already been celebrated at full council, I think at the scrutiny meeting last week also, and this is his last cabinet. So I'd just like to thank Dave on behalf of cabinet and the membership in general and the council as a whole for his work that he's done for the council over since he was 2 years old, I think, isn't he? Been here that long? Yeah. But I think all the way through his working life and dedication to this council is noted, and thank you for that. And you'll be missed in that regard. And I think speak for everybody on cabinet when we say that. Want to add anything, Steve?
Yeah, I do actually. Dave, obviously you're embedded in your local community. Your children went to the same school as mine. I think my children are your children. But also let's say thank you on behalf of the residents of Newcastle. Not just the council, but the people who live here, because I think you've done a fantastic job, being a great servant to the borough, and thank you for everything done, Dave.
Any other comments? Anything, Trevor? No? Okay, you've already, okay, fine. Thanks, Trevor. But, take those as good wishes with us from cabinet, and thank you, Dave. Item 13 is disclosure of exempt information for the report on the irrecoverable debt. So I resolve that the public be excluded from the meeting during the consideration of those reports, as it's likely to disclose exempt information as defined by the Local Government Act 12A as amended 1972. All agreed?